Yes, good morning, students. Welcome to the session. So already now 1 week, 4 classes have been done. So hope all of you have done the previous classes, assignments in a separate book. Once again, I'm telling you, no confusion. You are going to have two books, classwork and homework book. Classwork, whatever I display here and on the slide, better you write down as a points. In the class also, when we explain, you write down the points, right? That way, while explaining, when you are watching the video, write down the points. You can pause the video and write it down, or once for all you can watch the video according to your convenient, then you can come back or take the screenshot. Later you can copy it down. Later, when the assignment has been given at the end of the class, I'll give you as a homework that you write it in the homework book. Initially, now you keep 100 pages for the homework book. The classwork, 200 pages you can have. Okay. Next, let us now, before we begin today's class, quickly let us recap on what we did in the last class. Last class, we learned about the features, that is the generations of computers. How many generations are there? 5 generations, isn't it? One by one, quickly let us see what are the features of first generation computers. The basic component used in first generation computers are vacuum tubes. Then magnetic drums were used for the memory. Memory is here, it refers to the primary memory. Punch cards were used for input and output. Low-level languages were used for programming. Low-level languages means only which uses zeros and ones, machine language or binary language, what we call it as. Computer understands only binary language. But for us to write the program, everything in zeros and ones takes a lot of time. So instead of that, we are using high-level languages. But in the first generation, it was not there. Then the system was very huge and non-portable. These are the basic features, the main features of first generation computers. And the main computers were Mark I, ENIAC, EDVAC, UNIVAC. All these expansions you need to remember. The processing speed was very low compared to this generation computer what we were using. First generation speed was low. So Mark I computer is the first relay computer, we can say. ENIAC is the first completely digital computer. Okay, it was the first electronic computer, digital electronic computer, electronic numerical integrator and computer, ENIAC full form. EDVAC stands for electronic discrete variable automatic computer. UNIVAC stands for universal automatic computer. All these expansions you need to remember. Okay, this is about the first generation. Then what are the main features of second generation computers? The basic component used was transistors. Transistors were used as the basic component. Then magnetic core used for the main memory. The main memory magnetic core was used. Then magnetic tapes and magnetic disks were used for the secondary memory. Then high-level languages were used in the second generation. These are the basic features of second generation computers. Then what are the main features of third generation computer? In the third generation, integrated circuits were introduced. Till then, first and second generation, it's not one vacuum tube or one transistors they used to have. They used to have number of vacuum tubes connected with number of resistors, capacitors, so many circuits, soldered circuits were used. When after the invention of integrated circuit, while yes, huge number of circuits are fabricated on a single chip called as integrated circuits. Okay, IC chip were introduced, mini computers were introduced, computation time was reduced from milliseconds to microseconds. Then maintenance cost was low as hardware failures were rare in the third generation. These are the features, the basic features. Next, the main features of fourth generation computers are during the beginning of the fourth generation. In that era, more circuits are LSI, VLSI, ULSI chips. What does this LSI stands for? Large scale integration. VLSI stands for very large scale integration. ULSI stands for ultra large scale integration. These are all the chips only, IC chips depending on how many circuits are fabricated on a single chip. LSI, little more number of than compared to one IC chip. LSI is more powerful, more circuits are fabricated on a single chip, whereas VLSI, very large scale, still more number of circuits are fabricated on a single IC chip. Ultra large scale is still many more circuits are, so that means the chip was so powerful. Later on, during the fourth generation only, microprocessors were introduced. That is the basic component what we use in today's computers also, that Intel chip, Motorola, Mac, isn't it? All those are IBM. The microprocessor is the basic component of the computer system. Then use of chips for the memory, like memory means RAM, ROM chip. If you see the motherboard, on the motherboard, we have a RAM chip, ROM chip, isn't it? So that is to store the data, we make use of chips. Then cost of assembling reduced. Earlier, they used to have huge number of circuits. Assembling cost used to be more. That was reduced in the fourth generation. Then easily portable. It became easy to transfer the machine from one place to another. Hardware failures were negligible. Even now, if you're using a PC or a laptop, so do you see any hardware failures? Not much, isn't it? So earlier, huge circuits used to be there, number of circuits. They used to find so many failures in the connections, but now we don't face that problem. Those are the features of fourth generation. Now fifth generation, advancement in the networking technology. Now we are all of us dependent on the network, isn't it? So which is internet. Internet is one of the networking. So about when we learn about networking this next year, you will learn in detail. Advancement in the networking happened during fifth generation. Then development of supercomputers, which is very high speed computers. Then concept of parallel processing. Parallel processing means the processor or the microprocessor is able to perform many tasks simultaneously at a time. That is called as parallel processing. Development of robots to assist human beings. So these are the features of fifth generation computers. That is about what we learned in the last class. Today's session, we'll learn about the different types of computers, the classification of computers. Fine. You might have heard about different types of computers. Let us see theoretically what are those classifications. Actually, the computers can be classified based on different criteria or the different specifications. So depending on the working principle, how exactly computer works, based on that is working principle, we have separate classification. Whereas depending on the size and its capability means the speed, memory, how much it can store, all those features, depending on this is the second criteria. We have another set of classifications or the types of computers depending on the usage or the purpose, for what purpose we use the computers. Depending on that, we have another classification. So explain the classification of computers. Generally, if they ask, you need to write all the three. The computers can be classified based on working principle, these. Whereas depending on the size, speed, and memory, capability means those things only, memory and the speed of the computer. These are the classifications. Purpose, there is separate classification. So one by one we will learn depending on the working principle, what are the types. Okay, so computers can be classified. Now this gives you a clear picture of the classification of computers. Take the screenshot of this, write down this chart. Okay, so computer can be classified depending on the working principle. Here construction and working is given. No, that is nothing but working principle. You can make that for your reference. So working principle means construction and working. The second one is usage or the purpose, for what purpose they use. The third one is size and capability. Size and capability means capability is speed, memory of the computer, how much it can perform, the efficiency of the computer. These first three classifications are important. You need to remember. This is just for your reference. Generally, they have given in abstract. Okay. Area of application means There are computers which use for business, specifically for business applications, whereas certain computers, supercomputers and all, they use it only for scientific applications, which we don't use it in general. Okay, like that it is given. Okay, depending on number of users, whether they use only one person can use the system, those are called single user computers. Whereas the computers which are in the network means connection of so many computers, where you can share the data from one computer to another computer. You can send, receive, communicate. You can share files also. That is multi-network. So don't worry about these two classification. Concentrate on these first three, depending on the working principle, usage, size, and capability. Today's class, let us learn this. First, we will see based on the classification based on working principle. So depending on how computer works, computers can be classified into three types. Make a note of it. Working principle, you should remember in the test or even generally in the assignment, if they ask, explain the types of computer based on the working principle. You need to explain analog computer, digital computer, hybrid computer. All these names may you may feel it new terms, but it's not at all difficult. Only the thing is you have not heard all these days. Generally, just you have heard about computer, all computers, and about the social media, WhatsApp, or other thing, browsing, net. You have been using it, playing games, and all those things. But this is there since long time about the computer. Now you are listening for the first time. You read twice or thrice. Definitely, you will understand. Nothing much difficulty in this. Okay. So analog computer, digital computer, hybrid computers are the three classification or three types depending on working principle. Now let us learn how does analog computer work and what is the principle, working principle for digital computer, and how hybrid computer is different from analog and digital. So let us learn this. First, if you have to understand the analog computer, it works on the principle of measuring, in which the measurement is translated into data rather than counting. The analog computers are, it does the calculations parallelly, hence, and also faster. Parallelly means simultaneously it performs so many calculations so that it becomes faster. Calculation becomes faster. So modern analog computers usually they use electrical parameters such as voltages, current, resistance to represent the quantities being manipulated. Also the temperature, also it makes use of those electrical parameters. Okay, such computers, it do not deal directly with the numbers. Numbers means what we are using at home, what you have PC is digital computer which works on the numbers, zeros and ones. But analog computers are not like that. They measure continuous physical magnitudes. It generally deals with physical variables such as voltage, pressure, temperature, speed, etc. Okay, when you are explaining about analog computer, the same points which is repeated here, see voltage, resistance, current, and last sentence also like that. So just reframe and write it. Here you can just write analog computers, it deals with physical quantities such as voltage, pressure, temperature, and also calculations are done using these physical quantities. Analog computers, it operates by measuring rather than counting, just like what I said. So the computations are carried out with the physical quantities such as voltages, length, current, etc. The same thing what I displayed in the previous screen, I have just displayed it here. You can write this. And how exactly you hear now when you are representing a sine wave. So it's an analog graph with two parameters, time and temperature. So one, if you take it as a time and this is the temperature, how it can be shown with the help of measuring. Okay, so this is just an example. This is an analog waveform. So if you take the graph of the working of the what is it, analog computers, by taking the quantities like voltages, length, current, and temperature, that could be represented like this. Fine. So only these points are enough for functioning of analog computers. Next is digital computer, what we use at home and so many area applications. nowadays what we are using in general are all digital computers. So the digital computers works on the upon discontinuous data. So whereas when you're representing a sine waveform, previously what I displayed, you need a continuous data. But here it is not like that. It uses discontinuous data. It operates on the data such as numbers. It takes the numbers, usually only the binary number system. Here, binary represents only 0 and 1s. Bi means 2. So zeros and ones are used. Binary number system in which there are only 2 digits, 0 and 1. Okay, so it is called as a bit. One is called as a bit. They convert the data into digits, that is binary digit 0 and 1, and all the operations are carried out on these digits and extremely faster rates. A digital computer, it basically knows how to count the digits and add the digit rather than measuring. So here you can say digital computers works by counting, not measuring. Okay, so digital computers are much faster than analog computer and far more accurate. You can say analog computer, we can expect only approximate results, whereas here you can say it is more accurate. Computers used for business as well as scientific applications are all digital computers. Here all the data representation will be in the series of zeros and ones and not dependent of time or any other values. The digital computers are unique. Here digital computer is made for both general purpose as well as special purpose. What are these? I will tell you the next classification. Here special purpose computer is one that is built for a specific application. Okay, now if you see here, it makes use of the data inputs are either it could be 1 or 0. When at that particular time, instance of time, t here, it is the time, what it is shown in the x-axis. At a particular time period, what numbers are given? If it is 0, it is lower value. See, till here, all the 3 instances of time, the value input given is 0. When it increases to 1, so this way the waveform can be represented. This is digital computer. Now waveform and all you need not have to draw. This is just for your understanding. What you need to remember is digital computer works on the principle of binary numbers using counting zeros and ones. That's all. Next is hybrid computer. Hybrid computer, it's a combination of both analog as well as digital computer, we can say. A combination of computers, those are capable of accepting the inputs and outputs in both analog signals, analog as well as digital signals. A hybrid computer system, its setup offers a cost-effective method of performing simulations. A hybrid computer system, it's a combination of desirable features of analog and digital computers. It is mostly used for automatic operations of complicated physical processes and machines. Nowadays, analog to digital and digital to analog converters are used for transforming the data into suitable form for either type of computation. Either you are making use of physical quantities like voltage or current or any other physical quantities, you have a conversion. Those are all the analog values that will be converted into digital with the help of a converter. Even if you give any input as in the digital form, that could be converted into analog form. All those things are available without much complications. So this is about the hybrid computer. Now example, which are the examples of hybrid computer? Now you can understand it better. So here in hospitals, what happens in ICU and all, you have seen, if not directly in the movies or in TV, you have seen in ICU they show so many devices, isn't it? All depicting or representing so many waveforms. Those could be the readings of heartbeats or the BP, the blood pressure, isn't it? So many parameters are shown in the those machines. So the analog devices might measure the patient temperature, blood pressure and other vital signs, the heartbeats, as I said, the CG, isn't it? So all those readings will be displayed on those. But those reading, these measurements which are in the analog form might be converted into numbers. How do they give the report? When BP measurement is taken, when it is represented in the waveform, that has to be, when in the report, we will get as a numbers. So that means what? That will be converted into digital form, the numbers. So the measurements which are in the analog, so that might be converted into numbers and supplied to digital components in the system. Okay, so in the computer, even all the reports are all computer generated. So it will be converted into numbers, that is nothing but digital form, and that will be shown in the report of any patient, any diagnostic, if anyone goes for, there we see in the digital form. So these components are used to monitor the patient's vital sign and send signals if any abnormal readings are detected. So hybrid computers are mainly used for specialized tasks. Generally, we don't use it at home and all, we don't use. Especially here you can see it's a hybrid with analog and digital signals. That is, this is the reading of an ECG of a person. You have the waveform which is in the analog form, as well as in between you get the numbers in between, that also will be converted into numbers which will be in the digital form for our understanding. Okay, so these are the types of computers depending on working principle: analog, digital, and hybrid computers. Okay, this is very important question which can be asked for 5 marks, which I'll give you as an homework also. Now let us summarize the differences between analog and digital computer. Make a note of this, and then you can understand and remember the points what you write for analog computer and digital computer. Explain analog computer means don't write this. What I displayed, write that. If just to know the differences, you need to write this. So analog computers, it operates on continuous values of data, whereas digital computer, it operates on discrete values of data. Discontinuous, discrete means discontinuous. Then second point, under analog computer, they give only approximate results, you can say, whereas digital computers give accurate result. It's always 100% accurate. Whereas analog computer, processing is slow. Here in digital computer, processing is fast. Then fourth point, under analog computer, they have very limited use, whereas digital computers, they are versatile. Versatile means we use it in many places, many areas. Okay. Then the last point, under analog computer, they have small memory and less reliable. Whereas digital computer, they have large memory and more reliable. These are the differences between analog computer and digital computer. So write down in your classwork. So I'm just telling you, classwork and homeworks are separate. Assignment you are writing in the homework book. Same thing what I am going to explain, you are going to the same questions only I'm going to ask you. Now that is the first. Previously what we discussed is classification based on working principle. Moving on to the second criteria, that is classification based on usage or purpose. Computers can be classified into two types: general purpose computer, special purpose computer. This is the second classification. The criteria is depending on the usage or the purpose of the computer, for what purpose we use it. First, general purpose computer. According to name itself, it is understood. Generally, for any calculations, any type of calculations, any areas where we can use it, or general purpose. So according to the purpose, here we can classify the computer into general purpose and special purpose computer. General purpose computers are designed to perform a range of tasks. It's not limited. A range of variety of tasks can be done using general purpose computer. They have an ability to store numerous programs but lack in speed and efficiency. Whereas special purpose computers are designed to handle a specific problem or to perform a specific task. Like You use certain computers, say, to take this ECG readings or any health, hospitals. Okay, you use certain computers. It's not general PC I'm talking about, but certain computer machines, they use it only for specific purposes. There you can't do normal calculation what we do in our PC. Okay, those are meant for specific purposes. Same way, the research and all, they use certain computers which is meant for doing advanced calculations. All other general applications may not be available in that. So those are general purpose computers and special purpose computers. Special purpose, or also you can say specific purpose computers, both are same. Okay, this is about the classification. There is one more category of classification is there, depending on the size and capability. Now if I start, that takes more time, that we will cover in the next session. So for today's whatever we have discussed, only two things we learned. That is a homework for you. Explain the classification of computers based on working principle. It's a 5 marks question. Okay, it's very important question. Write down in your book important, or you can put it as a star mark. It's a 5 marks. Many times they have asked in the exam. Okay, so you need to explain what is analog computers, the features, the first 3 slides what I explained about analog, digital and hybrid computer. No need of differences you need not have to write. Then explain the classification of computers based on usage, just general purpose and special purpose. Okay, so this is the homework for you. So hope all of you are able to understand what I'm explaining. So once you come back to the college, I'm going to check all your assignments. So don't lose the interest. Please watch the video. If you don't understand, replay the video. Okay, you need not have to chat in the WhatsApp. I've not understood. You replay. You just, it's an advantage for you. In the class, we just write and erase it. Here, it's not going to erase it, isn't it? Once you take the screenshot, it is going to remain. You reread it. You have mobile in your hand. Make use of internet to gain more knowledge. Whatever I'm explaining, it's all available in your textbook. Textbook is very important. Don't delay in buying the textbook. It is definitely, it will help you when you are preparing for the exam. So buy NCERT book, board textbook. Okay, thank you so much. We will stop the session now. So have a nice day. We will meet you in the next class. Thank you.